Warning. The following content will contain spoilers for the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, as well as coverage and conversation about the recent Comic-Con announcements. Please remember that our opinions are just that, opinions. If you don't like it, we don't care. You don't. Thank you. With that done, Jordan, if you would.
Welcome. We are Far Side of the Pod. We are a podcast who like to talk about anything from movies to sports to music, you name it. I'm Jordan. We got Ridge.
What's up?
We got Mikey.
Hello, Earthlings.
And we have Caleb.
Yo, what it do?
And like Mikey said in the intro to the video, we are talking about Deadpool and Wolverine and the Comic-Con Marvel announcements. Alright, so Ridge.
What's up?
First of all, I want us to give our personal opinions on the movie, spoiler free at first.
Okay, so we're just
Yeah.
going around. Okay, so my personal opinions is it's a good movie. Definitely gonna have to go see it again. Probably gonna see it in 3D. Don't know when yet. But all around a pretty good movie. I thought there were some things that I didn't fully understand. We'll get into that later. But yeah, that's my first takes on it.
All right, Mikey, what about you?
Uh, so my opinion on the movie is that I thought it was a fantastic movie. I really liked it. Of course, everyone knows a lot of cameos show up. I'm not going to talk about those yet, but I really liked the movie. Um, I, I'm having a hard time finding any real criticisms up front. I just really liked it. You know, it is a good movie. I loved it.
All right, Caleb.
So when we talk about really good MCU movies, when I have to make a list from like 1 to 5, usually I would go with No Way Home was one of my favorite films they've done recently, uh, and that was for me number one. After coming out of the theaters watching this movie, Deadpool Wolverine is for sure the best MCU movie that has come out, at least in the past 2 to 3 years.
I was about to say that's pretty bold.
That's a bold claim. I'm a massive Wolverine fan, always have been, and to see them bring this guy to life in a way we've not quite seen before, with a story that was just super compelling. Uh, the plot was very good. The action scenes were incredible. The nostalgia from seeing multiple comic book callbacks was just incredible. So all in all, if I had to give a score, it's easily a 9 out of 10 for me. 10 out of 10 movie.
Awesome. And I'm with everybody. This movie was just absolutely fantastic. There's, like they said, a couple things that confuse us a little bit. Not saying that it's insanely bad, like not bad at all. It's just a little. What happened here?
It was tidbits, that didn't really click. Can we go ahead and get into the spoilers?
First of all, real quick, I just wanted to say that the quick synopsis of the movie. All right, so the point of the movie is the TVA comes to Deadpool, and they're pretty much like, "Hey, you want a purpose in life, so let us give you a purpose. So we just need you to do this. Um, you know, pretty much if your timeline's pretty much dead, you're not coming back, but you need to do this." So Deadpool, in himself, goes out to find a different version of Wolverine because it is revealed that his timelines, Wolverine, who was like the main superhero to hold together his timeline, was Logan, like Old Man Logan from Logan. So Deadpool was like, "You're not taking my family," and pretty much goes out on his own thing to find another Wolverine to replace Logan. I guess here is where we can start with the spoilers. So again, warning, we are starting with the variants.
All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out here since we're into spoiler territory. The thing that didn't sit right with me, and I've heard this places like I've just got done watching a little bit of John Campia's show, and one of the things that got brought up, and I would like to bring it up here too, how Anchor has just popped up, and that was the reason why Deadpool's universe was dying, was because Logan in that universe, Old Man Logan, was Anchor.
Yeah.
And the question is so did the universe just not exist before Logan, or what?
So,
Was it fine before Logan was there? What? How does that connect? Because we didn't hear about any Anchor business during Loki. We only got it just now.
Right. And I hear you. So knowing what I know about the Old Man Logan comics is that first things first, you have to take a look. Like we see the Wolverine that Deadpool pulls, and that's the Wolverine we see for the whole movie. But he makes mention of the movie that he is over 200 years old, and that has everything to do with his healing factor. So to compress that for a bit, we have to then understand that Old Man Logan, in order for him to be old, this is years and years into the future. I'm not going to go on a full rabbit hole about the Old Man Logan storyline, but to those who have seen the movie, they know how it ends. Essentially, that would lead me to believe, with Logan being that old by the end of the movie, that Logan, as an anchor person, anchor hero, however it is they refer to it in the movie, Old Man Logan dies years in the future from where Deadpool currently is in the timeline. And it would seem to me that the idea that's being grasped is the story of the timeline is officially over. Logan's dead. The anchor character is gone. So you can almost view it like closing a book. The story's over. That's why the timeline is starting to go away. So there is an amount of time traveling shenanigans there, but it's essentially Logan. The movie takes place years in the future. Deadpool travels years to the future to try and figure it out, realizes, in fact, Old Man Logan's dead, has a small meltdown, but then he's like, you know what? No, I'll just replace this Wolverine. That'll work. So it's, to answer your question, the Deadpool's universe is disintegrating because the story is kind of over from the TVA's point of view.
And honestly, what they could have explained is that, so Logan takes place in 2029.
Right.
And what it possibly could mean is that the Wolverine from Deadpool's world could have been still alive, and none of the stuff that happened in Logan hadn't happened yet, or is going to happen, just didn't happen yet. And it just showed that in the future, this is what's going to happen to him. And how they talk about timelines, when the anchor dies, the timeline slowly decays.
It takes many years.
Paradox even said that it could take up to 4,000 years. But little did we not know that Paradox, this shifty person, is pretty much working with himself, and in a way with Cassandra Nova, to pretty much hurry up that destruction of that universe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we know the TVA can see to any point of the future and any spot of the timeline, so that part would make the most sense of it. Even though it probably wouldn't be fully, it still makes the most sense, I guess.
Okay.
Right,
that was one of the hiccups I was saying.
Yeah, that's one hiccup. They didn't really explain it the greatest, but once you think about it, it kind of makes sense.
So, my opinion on it, and I completely I understand exactly your frustration with that, because it doesn't make sense. I think we're seeing, when we saw them explain it in the movie, I think we were seeing out of context as like a viewer. I think the context to it where he was explaining. I think Logan possibly is already, has died, obviously, because in the scene, spoiler, obviously, again, he runs off to go find a Wolverine, but not just any Wolverine. He goes in the beginning of the movie and digs up Logan's corpse.
Yeah.
Because he thinks he's still, able to regenerate and revive himself, and he's not able to. What I'm thinking is that the universe chooses its anchor character, and that when that character is born, from that point on until that anchor character dies, that universe continues. And so, how he meant it takes over 1,000 years, possibly, for a timeline to die out from the result of that. I think he says it goes really, really slow. That maybe from beginning to end, it starts to erode and dissipate, and that he pulled Deadpool out because he knew he was useful before he just went ahead and just did it. So I think the way to look at that is like a piece of string that's always there, and then it slowly starts to get smaller and smaller from the beginning to the end of it.
Right, like it's unraveling.
Yeah, like it's unraveling in a sense. And so I think that maybe that was why it was confusing, is that they may have not explained that entirely too well during the movie. So I believe that was more like we were seeing that part of the story out of context. Like they would understand it, but like Deadpool and the viewer would not typically understand exactly what they're getting at. So it's more like a simplified explanation for, someone to for Deadpool to understand, and to give us kind of a small like insight into what the plot of the story is.
And I want to tack on real quick for reference and context, the TVA Time Variant Association, or what
You got it right.
Okay. I thought I was ignorant. Anyway, they exist outside of time as we know it. They see everything that is happening, what has happened, and what will happen. And Mr. Paradox makes specific mention that Deadpool's timeline would erode in anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 years, but then he follows that up with saying, which is frankly too quick for me, and that's where the sense of urgency for Deadpool to go find Logan initially, and then change of plans to finding a Wolverine to replace him comes from. But that's all I wanted to tack on to that.
Right. Okay, so we mentioned the beginning of the movie where Deadpool goes to Logan's burial site, and it's left the exact same that we saw at the end of Logan when Laura takes the cross and lays it down as an X. So when Wade digs him up and realizes that his skeleton, he gets pretty pissed off, and he pulls the skeleton out of the grave, and it's pretty much talking to him like Deadpool would. So then as Wade's talking to him, the TVA shows up, and it's pretty much like, you're arrested by the TVA. We need you to come with us. And one of the greatest Marvel openings in history continues to happen.
I just want to say, the cinematography was amazing. I'm such a fanboy for great cinematography. But Jordan, I know this is your shtick. I know this is your niche. Please say what you have to say about it.
So, Wade picks a fight with the TVA, but not just picks a fight. He uses the skeleton, the adamantium skeleton of Logan, to fight and kill at least maybe 200 people. To the song,
200 people?
At the least, dude. Like, if not, maybe just 100. But he went crazy. But
yeah, we're talking easily like numerous squads of TVA units.
But to the song of Bye 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 by NSYNC, with cuts in between of him dancing and doing the dance. Though it wasn't 100% the dance, but it was still the dance. Which is
a little dancey dance.
One of the funniest openings, one of the best openings we could see. And I'm not just saying that as an NSYNC fan, but it genuinely was an amazing opening. Like, it really was.
So compare this opening to that of the first opening of Deadpool, the very first Deadpool. Which do you think's a better opening?
I think this one. I mean, the opening for the first one was just him sitting in Dopinder's.
Well, I mean, no, like, okay, so I guess I should have re-clarified that. The fight scene of it.
So you're
like the very opening.
You're meaning the opening for the second one. The second one was when he was.
No. The opening with the first one, whenever we originally opened up it all in slow motion.
Yeah, you're right.
In the car, in the middle of I believe.
Yeah.
And we're getting the introduction to the creators and everything. It's not even like in this third installment, the introduction and title cards for everybody told you exactly who it was, what it was, right? But in the very first one, we got it's some douchebag that's created this movie. It's a bunch of higher end people that gave blowjobs to get this off the ground. Some shit like that.
Killed John Wick's dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that I did miss. That they did not do in this, and I guess that's Marvel wanting credit where credit is due, and I understand that's perfectly fine. But it's still like extra funny with the little nods and funny jokes, whatever.
I mean, I'm in the same camp as Jordan on that one. I'm sure it's Marvel wanting credit where credit's due, but at the same time, I also know how
I can get that at the end though.
Hard Ryan Reynolds pushed for this movie, and I also I would also like to think that that's him purposely foregoing the jokes in order to make sure that all the people who strived just as hard as him to make this happen and happen as well as it did, that was him making sure their names were heard.
Yeah, like they were well rewarded for their work, and I think what's interesting about Ryan Reynolds is each Deadpool movie has shown time and time again that he is a man of the fandom. Like he knows what the fans want to see, and he strives for it, and he goes and gets it. And it's crazy because it's like he's the only one in Hollywood, especially in the MCU, in the entire cinematic universe of Marvel, that is able to get away with as many jokes the way that he jokes about, especially in this new movie. It pertaining to, I know one of the spoiler alert again, pertaining to the joke he made about Disney and it being their first time, basically involving shafting in a sense. Well, I don't want to spoil the joke for any viewer that it hasn't seen, obviously.
Well,
but it's amazing that he knows that the fans love that and that he's able to get away with putting that in there because Disney knows that he's going to craft a masterpiece every single time when it comes to him playing Deadpool or even helping produce the movie.
Okay, so after Paradox tells him what he wants him to do, they get him a new suit. It's made with adamantium swords, the whole get up, and Deadpool takes off on a journey to find different variants of Wolverine. We saw the Age of Apocalypse Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
We saw I can't remember. I think it's from House of M. Him on the wooden cross or the X cross with the skulls around him.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
We also got the brown
comic accurate version.
We got the comic accurate version where he's like super short. That was fucking hilarious.
that part was especially hilarious, actually.
Can I ask another question about in these variants? I got a couple of questions I'd like to bring up.
Yeah.
No, let's change it to 3. One, are we mad we didn't get to see the Hulk actually fight Wolverine movie?
I mean,
because they teased it, but we did not get it.
We did get one swift hit from the Hulk.
Yeah, but we
never really got to see him. Yeah.
I think that was a bummer, but knowing that comic run itself, it's probably worth the whole movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with him.
I mean, yeah, but will we get that? I don't know. But it was a hope. The hope was there. Also, we didn't. There was only one version of Wolverine that wasn't played by Hugh Jackman
Yes, we
that whole
finally
time.
Oh
the
yes, yes.
Marvel gave the fandom exactly what it wanted to see, and we got to see Henry Cavill as a Wolverine variant. Though it was quick and he only said one line, it was still he looked fantastic. He,
Had the cigar. Was working on a bike. It was just fantastic, like
yeah,
storytelling. That is.
But okay, so that brings up the next the two questions that I have, or two for one. Would y'all have wanted to see Daniel Radcliffe or Edgerton getting in the Wolverine costume themselves
you
too?
know, I think it would have been cool to like for it like each one like how we got different variants of Wolverine. Like say like we could have saw Taron Egerton's Wolverine in the tan and yellow suit or the brown and yellow suit facing the Hulk.
Yeah.
Or we could have got like Daniel Radcliffe's as Patch because we got to see Patch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We did get to see Patch.
So that right there would have been cool. Like if they divvied it up like that. And honestly, if they would have done, I would have cried if on the comic accurate they would have had Danny DeVito on there. Like
Oh
just,
man.
Oh Lord.
just to piss people off. That would have been hilarious, dude.
I don't know about that.
Penguin I've ever seen.
I mean, I don't.
This
I'm not saying that they should have done it, but it would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
this
Now I'm
I
not
don't-
saying that. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say my take, just to double back to your original question, Ridge, where you asked, if we would have liked to see Taron Egerton or Daniel Radcliffe as Wolverine. I don't know if I'd constitute this as a spicy take. Namely, I'm just gonna say it. I don't think personally that Taron Egerton or Daniel Radcliffe would make a convincing modern day Wolverine. At least
Oh
as we know
wow.
him.
Oh.
At least as we know him, right? But in X-Men Origins Wolverine, we see in the opening sequences snippets of Logan's life. I
Yeah.
think Taron Egerton or Daniel Radcliffe would have made a very, very good and compelling James Howlett. If you don't know James Howlett, that's Logan's supposed original name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if
Okay.
they were to do younger iterations of Logan or James, however, if they were to do younger iterations of Wolverine, why not see them in the Civil War that Wolverine and Sabretooth both participated in? Or maybe one of the World Wars. I would argue that both of them could make a convincing younger Wolverine, but
I think.
So do you think that we'll get that later on?
the modern day Wolverine. But I've also only ever really seen Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, so maybe that's just my own bias.
But the thing is, the counteract your. I'm gonna look this up real quick, just to make sure I'm not stepping on my own feet. Let's
Yeah,
see.
you're good.
Who do you want to see take on the mantle after this?
So my argument with Taron Egerton, and I'm not saying he should be MCU's Wolverine. Then to clarify, all these people have clearly got the nod from Henry. Oh, not Henry. Jesus, from Hugh. I mean, we seen in a video here recently where it was like the strongly agree, strongly disagree, where it was asked a question: Daniel Radcliffe could play Wolverine, but Hugh Jackman couldn't play Harry Potter. And he said he said strongly agree. So that's Hugh Jackman saying that he agrees that Daniel Radcliffe could play a variant or version of Wolverine. Same thing with Taron Egerton. Taron Egerton, who did a movie, I can't remember what the name of it was, with Hugh Jackman, was asked in an interview, what would you think about Taron playing Wolverine? And he said that it would be great. So we've got Hugh's agreements on both. But personally, in my opinion, I think Henry Cavill should take up the mantle. The only reason I say that is because, one, we saw him, and it never specified in any of the parts. We just, if you know, you know. And It never specified what universe he was in. And we do know that he goes to 616 and talks to Happy at the beginning of the movie. But that could have been 616's Wolverine. But
yeah, I did hear. I want to say it was Cosmic Wonder. At some point that he was doing a.
Hold on, Rick.
I can't remember.
Now. So
are we good?
You said you got that from Cosmic Wonder, right?
Yes, Cosmic Wonder. I can't remember exactly what the video was about, but it had to do with this Deadpool and Wolverine movie and the possibilities of the different Wolverines that we could end up. And one of them that he mentioned would be the Wolverine that we would have for our the 616's universe after we get through Secret Wars, right? In the upcoming future. So maybe that was a hint that Henry Cavill's taking over. Right. Me personally, though, I would argue for Daniel Radcliffe just because, and I like we said, this is a biased opinions. I've seen photos of Daniel Radcliffe with his shirt off, jacked, and the dude just looks swole. He looks like, yeah, put the claws on him.
Right. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, he would be great. And so, Mikey, who would you think would be a great MCU Wolverine? Because Kevin Feige, before you answer, Kevin Feige did say that they're in no rush to replace Wolverine. So I don't know if we'll see him soon. I'm sure we may get him by the time of the X-Men movie. But Kevin Feige said they're in no rush, and they did say that when they get a Wolverine, they don't want it to be a carbon copy of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, that they want it to be an original Wolverine, just so it's not trying to compare.
And I really, really, really appreciate that Kevin Feige made mention of that, because that's the first time I'm hearing about that, Jordan. So, and that is absolutely something that would turn me off from any newer Wolverine, that they would try and copy or carbon copy the success that Hugh Jackman has had as Wolverine. Because like I said, I loved the first X-Men movie, watched the second one, I watched the third one time and time again. Days of Futures Past, just about every X-Men movie, that Fox created, I've seen all the Deadpool movies. I adore the X-Men. They are one of, if not the most favorite faction of Marvel that I have. But to answer your question, Ridge made mention of it, so I actually went looking. So Ridge, you might be happy to know that this is part of my search history now. But I went looking for pictures of Daniel Radcliffe under the prompt of Daniel Radcliffe Wolverine, and I went to images and I started looking, and I was just like,
just yoked Radcliffe.
I haven't been know of it.
Did you have it in your private browser?
No.
Anyways, go ahead, Mikey.
I think I'm actually going to align with Ridge on this one. I can see Daniel Radcliffe doing it, especially if they were going to go for something more original. Maybe not the idea I had where they both play, where he'd play a younger James Howlett, but. And this could also attribute to that. I feel like I've only ever seen. I just lost his name.
Hugh Jackman?
No.
Edgerton.
Yes, thank you. I've only ever seen him babyface, namely because I've seen the Kingsman movies, right? So right. I don't have this vision of him in my head as rugged, whereas Daniel Radcliffe with a beard, shirtless, jacked, and hairy, I'm just kind of like. Nah, he could be Wolverine. He could be Wolverine. So,
and honestly,
you did look up.
Honestly, to back up y'all's claim with Daniel Radcliffe, is if they do X-Men in the MCU like X-Men in the animated series, Wolverine, yes, he's a main character, but he's not a main character. I know that's confusing to say it like that, but he's not like the focal point like the original X-Men movies. He's not the focal point of the movie.
Yeah. Like, Caleb.
So yeah.
Yep.
What's your thoughts on it? Who do you think?
So, I really do like the idea of Daniel Radcliffe playing a younger Wolverine, maybe a little more, more comic book style, especially in his look. But if you ask me, if he wasn't already playing an MCU character, if I was to take someone that I know would do a fantastic job, I honestly think that Tom Hardy would make a fantastic Wolverine.
Technically,
Tom Hardy's not in the MCU.
Technically, he's not an MCU character
Well, he's
because
technically not MCU, but he's part of that universe in a way.
well,
And
no, he's Venom, but in the Sonyverse, and there has been clear recasts
In associations with Marvel, yes, but
And
not
there's
fully
been clear-
in the MCU.
Yeah, there's been clear recasts too. Like they talked about Carl Urban being a possible Wolverine.
okay, yes, I did hear about that. Yeah,
and he was in Ragnarok. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I mean he's got that. Then I mean there's been a couple recasts. I can't name them off the top of my head, but
I can think of one recast we'll be talking about here shortly. That's been MCU related and is sticking with the MCU.
yes.
We'll get into that here shortly. Let's go ahead and
All right, let me
get
continue.
through.
Let me continue with this movie.
So, what I was about to finish saying about that Tom Hardy thing is, I think that, like I said, copying, Hugh Jackman's style would not be the right way to go with it. However, I do think that the aggression that Hugh Jackman brings with playing Wolverine is something that they really, really, really have to maintain.
Yeah.
Carl Urban played Scourge in Ragnarok.
And also, if we were going to say it, at my opinion, also, I think I've said this before. Actually, I believe that a really good Sabretooth would be Conor McGregor.
He honestly, I'm with that, especially after watching Roadhouse. I think it'd be cool.
I just based on his, just based on how good he is at playing a bad guy. And the look he has and just how stout he is. To me he brings a lot to the plate if he were to ever think about playing Sabretooth.
Right.
If they ever cast them.
Yeah.
Or cast Sabretooth in general. Because you got to remember, too, while, yes, it's nice to fantasize about Wolverine and everything later on down the road, which I'm assuming we're going to get him. Don't take my word for it. But Marvel doesn't always like sticking to, 100% this is who's going to be in what, So, for all we know, we're not going to see Wolverine later on. We're not going to see Sabretooth, but I could be completely wrong, too,
Yeah.
Just want to get us in that mindset, too.
All right. So, continuing with Sabretooth, we're going to continue on with the plot of the movie. So, when Logan gets to the Void, because when he goes and gets Hugh Jackman, and when we get, this movie's Wolverine, he takes him back to Paradox, and Paradox prunes him to the Void. They are then picked up by Cassandra Nova and her squad. So Cassandra Nova, if you don't know, is the twin sister of Charles Xavier, and she is vile. That's all I really got. It's short and sweet. She's vile as hell.
Yep.
And her team is a bunch.
She's a mind fucker.
Yeah, pretty
She's
much.
a bad bitch.
And that's right. She is a certified sociopath, grade A.
And her team consists of legendary villains in the X-Men, Fox, whatever universe. Because I even saw Bullseye. If you didn't notice him, it was they changed his race. I will say that it was Bullseye from the Daredevil movie, like Ben Affleck's Daredevil movie.
Did y'all notice that not everybody bad guy that she had?
Well,
I was curious if anybody. What's her name? Valkyrie.
Valkyrie wasn't there.
Was in there.
No, she wasn't.
I swear Valkyrie was in that group.
No, she wasn't.
Then who looked exactly like Valkyrie?
It definitely wasn't Valkyrie.
Please, you're going to have to watch the movie to see that scene again, but I swear I saw Valkyrie in there. It might have been a variant.
It could have been a variant. I'll give you that.
But that's exactly who it was. Valkyrie was in there. You didn't.
Oh, you're cutting out.
Are we good?
Yeah, you said you if you couldn't really see her if it was Valkyrie, then cool, whatever. But the main part, like the main person that was helping her was Pyro. I can't remember the actor's name, but it is the same actor from X-Men, X2, X3. I think X2 is his introduction, but is the original actor for Pyro. He was pretty much almost like the right-hand man in my opinion. I mean, it was cool seeing him on screen again and to have a comic accurate suit, like he instead of just being regular clothes like he was in the other older X-Men movies. Glad to see him back. We also had
Glad to see Johnny Storm back.
yeah, we got
Johnny Storm.
Chris Evans as the Human Torch again, and
A very foul mouth, Chris Evans.
yeah, he was foul mouth.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was.
But it fits. It fits the character of Storm.
Yeah, it does. It does fit Johnny Storm.
I want to say real quick that a lot of Nova's henchmen, if you're if you're like us and you've seen the Fox X-Men movies, you'll notice that a lot of her henchmen were actually members of Magneto's Brotherhood that he kind of slapped together in 3.
Yeah.
An honorable mention being Toad. There was also the chick with the
Toad.
razor sharp thing. I believe that's supposed to be a callback to.
It's
I want to.
It's 2, I think.
No, that's not X2. I'm trying to think of. I'll think of her name here in a little bit.
No, it's X2. It's X2 when she shows up in the movie.
I thought so. I thought it was.
And it's Lady Deathstrike, by the way.
We can't forget. Obviously, we can't forget the big man Juggernaut, the OG.
Yep.
That was a fantastic thing, just seeing him, the original guy. I was really hoping for that I'm the Juggernaut bitch line to drop, and we didn't get it, but that's okay. The movie wasn't focused on them, obviously, so just getting him in the movie was, cool enough in itself.
And like you said, we got Tyler Mane back as Sabretooth, who played Sabretooth in the original X-Men movie. And Lady Deathstrike, they mentioned the girl with the finger
That's who I was thinking of. Thank you, Lady Deathstrike.
We got Azazel, the demon guy from First Class. It's pretty much like the red version of.
Yeah, he's the red version of Beast.
No,
or
Nightcrawler.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought that was more so like a Mephisto type deal or something.
No, it was
Azazel. Mephisto, and then he started doing the teleportation. I was like, shit, that's Azazel.
Now, if y'all didn't know, apparently Mephisto was originally thought to be the villain of the movie.
Okay.
But they went with Cassandra and Paradox.
Which in all, be a really good decision there on their part. Like I said, the storyline was very good, and honestly, I don't know how they would have been able. There's plenty of ways they could have went about making Mephisto the main bad guy for the movie, but I think they still hit the mark doing the storyline they did.
I feel like if we're going to see Mephisto, we ought to wait for the Midnight Suns movie. There's just so much there.
Either that, or I think we should get a hint from him in Agatha all along. And I know
I heard they're supposed to be in Ironheart.
Ironheart would be cool too, but it would just make sense that he would incorporate an Agatha.
That's
just my thing. Maybe we can still get Ralph Boner to be Mephisto. That'd be great instead of being Boner. Okay, and to get to it,
freaking Boner.
To get this out of the way, we got to talk about the squad. We got to talk about the Resistance Squad. So after,
I was gonna say, which squad? Deadpool squad and Fun Squad.
So after,
do we each get a member of the squad to gush over?
I've got pictures of them, so I'm just going to explain them one at a time.
Okay, go ahead, Slater.
And I'm going to do it by appearance. So heads up.
Okay, in order, I think.
So Deadpool and Wolverine get out of Cassandra's HQ, which was just a giant skeleton of Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And they get away and they get into a fight, and I'm talking about beating every little hell out of each other. It gets
in a van.
In a van.
Oh, don't forget.
In a Honda Odyssey.
Don't forget to mention who was hungry enough to come after them.
Oh, Eliath.
Yep.
That's why they ran away from Cassandra's base, because Eliath, season 1, episode 5 of Loki. You'll get that joke once you watch the movie, I promise.
Maybe.
So
Unless you didn't watch Loki.
So they're passed out, and the van takes off all of a sudden. They wake up inside of a building, and the first person we see walk through is Jennifer Gardner's Elektra.
Yes.
Automatic first nut of.
Yeah, automatic big nut of the movie. I mean, it's just fantastic to see Jennifer Gardner back as Elektra, especially as me. I love the Daredevil movie growing up. The Elektra movie was solid.
buddy.
It was just great to see her.
I didn't have my special sock. That was my only issue.
That's another one you'll get if you watch the movie.
I mean, it was just amazing. And to get
You
to
just had to be there.
to get to possibly the biggest out of them, Wesley Snipes as Blade returned.
Which was glorious.
Though he was older, it was cool to see the white in his beard and in his hair, but he just still sounded like Blade. Like, it was so cool seeing him. And as
There's only one Blade.
right, it was just mind-boggling as somebody who grew up watching the Blade movies. And there was even a joke in the movie. I don't know if y'all caught it, but Deadpool was like, "I just don't want you to hate me," and he said, "I always have," because Ryan Reynolds was in Blade Trinity as Hannibal King.
Yep.
And that was a good nod for that. Then finally, we got the spinning ace of spades fly into the screen, and we got finally Channing Tatum's Gambit on screen. And I'm telling you, with the Creole and everything, dude did an amazing job. You could tell he loves the character. You can tell he's been waiting for years to play this character. And as Gambit's my favorite X-Men, anybody who knows me knows that. It's just insane, like, chills, as Tatum has been one of my favorite actors growing up. And I've been a supporter ever since they announced that he was going to be Gambit. To finally see it in the comic accurate suit too, like down to the damn boots. Like,
Dude, it was clean.
That is definitely, like, I mean, that was one of the coolest appearances I've ever seen of Gambit, and, like, for sure his voice and his accent for the character was so spot on. It was scary. It was you could look at this part of the movie and think to yourself, this guy was born to play Gambit 100%.
Right, and that's my thing. I knew Channing Tatum wanted to be Gambit, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I know Channing Tatum. We all know him from different forms of media. Of course, there's the Jump Street movies and all that. But I get hung up on small details like physique and physical form. And my thought was, isn't Channing Tatum a bit too bulky to play Gambit? But let me tell you, when I saw this man appear on screen, it wasn't even, oh, Channing Tatum looks good as Gambit. It was, oh my God, it's Gambit. Like, any doubt I may have had flew out the window because the suit looked nice. He looked good in it. He nailed the accent, and he nailed Gambit's flair. I have no qualms. Channing Tatum is Gambit, baby.
The only small detail that I would maybe have tweaked is, like, making his eyes the black with the red, like he is in, like, 97 in the comics, but it's still something that wasn't even that big of a problem. Like, it wasn't even noticeable, honestly. The between the jokes of his Creole being very misunderstood and not knowing what the fuck he's saying throughout the whole damn thing was hilarious.
Yeah, just listening to Deadpool explain to the viewer, breaking the fourth wall every time he's having to do it by saying, "This is what he's saying, children."
It was funny because Gambit was like, I can't remember exactly, but he was just rambling in Cajun, and he's just like, what Gambit is saying is we need to get in there, get Juggernaut's helmet, and get to Cassandra. Like, just pretty much that's all he can say.
I think that's what he's saying, at least.
Yeah. But then we can't leave out probably the most important, personally, and I'm not just saying that, but I mean, Gambit's my favorite X-Men. I'm a massive fan of Blade, but the one that it's important to the story, in my opinion, was Daphne Keene coming back as X-23 Laura. And it was the way that she talked. It was the girl, the version from Logan.
Yeah.
When did she go up? Is my question. Like, heck, I think
Dude,
apparently so, and now she's
dude, I
throwing that out there.
When did Logan come out? Like 2008? Not
Oh, no,
8.
no.
2018? No, 17. It has been 7 years
Yeah,
since that
it's
debut.
2017.
Okay, so she still might be underage.
She's 19.
Okay, never mind.
We're good, boys.
I mean, either way, she's good looking,
I'm just saying.
and she has grown up. You can tell.
It's just like it's crazy from seeing her, like rewatching Logan in preparation for this movie. It's so like a culture shock. I mean, from 7 years ago when it came out, she was 12, and I mean 10, 11 filming the movie to automatically being 17, 18, 19, whatever in this movie, and just being grown up. Though she looked a little less grown up than I thought when I saw the trailer for the first time, but she's still grown up. Like
I think what made her look, or whenever all of a sudden the switch turned from her looking older to younger, was whenever she put her glasses back on.
Yeah.
In the fight scene.
The glasses from Logan that she got at the gas station, she popped those things on and just went to town.
And oh yeah, she popped them things on, and I was like, "Oh Lord, here we go." And let's just take a second to appreciate how just how Logan's how Wolverine is always screaming every time he's really really into his fight. Well,
Yeah.
X-23 in the movie did the same thing.
Yeah, I love that little high pitched scream she does.
Yeah, in this movie, it's just to me, it was almost like just the way she sounds. It almost sounded the exact same as she did in the old movie, and it was just really. I thought that was a really cool detail that I noticed. Hearing it really for me that whole scene with her fighting and doing and sounding the way she did was just perfect. It was a spot on representation of what we left off at. But like now that we've traveled so far into the future of her growing up and everything, that you can sense it's not just so much about physically how much she's matured. You can tell by the way she holds herself and how she talks, just how much she's matured since Logan died.
Right. And I'm telling y'all, it's just at the end of the movie, Wolverine. Well, they couldn't save. Technically, Deadpool tells Wolverine, "Hey, you help me, I'll get your universe back." Because this version of Wolverine failed to save his universe's X-Men. And B-15 at the end of the movie pretty much tells him, you have those things from your past made who you are now. And he pretty much accepted that, which was kind of cool because it wasn't like he didn't pitch a fit about it. He's pretty much like, you're right. And the fact that she didn't go back to her, well, technically she did. Now that I think about it, she, that Wolverine went to Deadpool's timeline, and she stayed with him. And I just love that ending for her story. And that's pretty much that's pretty much what all these people in this Revolution Resistance group wanted. Was they just wanted an ending to their character. Though
they wanted
like saying, Channing Tatum's Gambit never got to start, but he got his start and his perfect ending in this movie. Blade never got a really great ending, though. Blade Trinity was fantastic in my opinion. It is what people assume as the worst one. And though Elektra never really got her greatest ending either, this movie was an ending for all of these characters that was a good ending and made sense.
Is it really fully an ending for these characters, though? Or do you think that we'll see them, like, let's say, Secret Wars?
I think we'll see Blade. There's a possibility we'll see Blade again, because there's, they want to do, but he might not be Blade. Wesley Snipes might not be Blade, though. If you think about it, he said that he would like to work with Mahershala Ali as in Blade, but I would like to see him as, Dracula, or something like that, where he's, the villain, or he could be Whistleblower, Blade's like not like henchman, but like mentor in a way. I think that'd be cool too. I mean, it would make sense that Whistleblower had a variant that was Blade.
So last thing, or at least on my end, with the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, I know we've jumped around in it, but that during the credits, it was so incredible getting to see the behind the scenes from the different Fox movies.
Yeah,
That was a good way to
absolutely
close
agree.
off Fox.
yeah,
It was kind of sad in a way because it was like they're paying homage to not only Hugh Jackman's career and his experiences with all of his friends from the other movies. It's also was highlighting Ryan Reynolds, and it showed I thought, which was really cool, was a clip of him when he was starring as Wade Wilson for the original before
X-Men Origins.
Origins, and I just thought it was cool. He was, sitting there just talking, and he said, he was talking about Deadpool. He was like, "It's such a cool character. I have fun doing what I'm doing, and hopefully, I'll actually be able to play that guy someday." And now that you see what he's done with the franchise, it's like this guy has literally made his dreams come true, and he's also not just that; he's made every fan's dream come true who actually, really wanted Deadpool movies. And never did we ever think that we'd see a Disney movie with a R rating for Deadpool, especially. We thought, oh, we may just get a PG-13 at best, but he's done really good work to bring the authenticity of Deadpool to life.
And they did announce that Blade will be officially rated R, so the next rated R movie for Marvel will be Blade.
As far as we know.
As far as we know, I mean, I would like to see Midnight Suns be rated R, but that's just me. But
Well, I'm saying like as far as
you're cutting
it goes, because
Say it again. You cut out.
as far as we know, for the next rated R B Blade, as far as we know, but we don't know because that movie's been pushed off for what, 5 now?
It's been a few times now.
So for all we know, it could not be the very next R-rated movie that we get in our lineup.
Technically, they could make Moon Knight more edgy, though it's only going to be a show. They could make it like a TVMA. It could be our first TVMA of the franchise.
Yeah, never know till we get there.
Right. And go ahead, Mike.
I just wanted to say I've got something on my mind, and it's kind of like just crawling around in there, and I want to say it out loud, just because this is, I don't know, it's just my feelings, I guess. I love in-depth characters, and I feel like in a lot of ways, just the representation of characters is so good, and there's honestly a parallel here with the movie, but as we see from heroes like Spider-Man, Iron Man, we can even reach into DC and take some heroes from there. The issue with being a superhero is that the mass majority of people only ever care to see the mask.
Yeah.
Never the person underneath it. And I think, I mean, as much as that statement contributes to so many different characters, we can apply that statement directly to Wolverine and Deadpool, both as characters and people.
Because
a lot of moral points.
Sorry.
A lot of moral points that gets touched on in anything about Wolverine is isolation, solidarity, closure, and humanity. The concept and like the psychology, the philosophy, and the concept of humanity is something that's always being touched on when it comes to the X-Men, because people always want to see the mask, never the person. But the issue with the X-Men is that their mask is who they are.
Yeah.
They did not get to choose to be mutants. And it's not that people hate them as heroes, it's that people hate them for what they are. And then if you look at Deadpool, who, while is associated to the X-Men, is not as frequently associated with the X-Men as someone like Wolverine is, Wade Wilson is his own person. And we see time and time again in many Deadpool comics where Wade's entire facade falls away, and that he admits in a couple of moments that Deadpool is just a character he puts on to feel better about himself. It's not always about the jokes. He constantly makes jokes because he doesn't know how else to be. It's because he openly admits that in a lot of ways he doesn't know how to cope.
Well,
But
this movie
I
shows
love.
that. This movie shows that heavily. I mean, we know that Deadpool has a softer side, and going like following along what you say with the mask. I mean, the whole 20 plus years we've got with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, we never saw him in the mask till this movie, and they only showed it at towards the end. And like this, I'm just bringing this up because this is the last picture I have. You know, when they fought the Deadpool corpse, and he pulled up the mask, and it was the first time in our lives that we got to see Hugh Jackman wear the full cowl, and that might be one of the best defining moments of the movie as well, just because people who wanted to see him in the original costume, people who wanted to see him in the mask, just go ape. It was perfect, and that little slow motion shot that they got of them jumping out of the bus, where that was just like childhood in the making. But going off what you said with the mask, we didn't see Hugh Jackman in a mask for 20 plus years. So like the fact that he got to build his Wolverine character without a mask was fantastic. Though when we got to see him in the mask, it was like, oh, finally. But
Yeah, the whole
go, but
theater erupted the cheers for that moment because it was just so cool to see that.
then going to Deadpool, right? And this is what I love about this version of Deadpool is that they perfectly balance the time that we get to see Wade without the mask and Wade with the mask. Is because they allow to build the character of Wade Wilson that when Deadpool puts on the mask, it's just Wade, but with a mask on, with a costume on. That way, it's like how Spider-Man's only Spider-Man in the costume to the people, to the story, right? But like, if you think about it, Peter Parker and Spider-Man are two different people. And to argue on that is like how Peter is expected to be a smart guy and does school and he's supposed to be the nerd, but when Spider-Man, it's like he's a totally different person. Everybody thinks he's the coolest cat in the world. You know, and I know it's not like I don't want to go too much into detail with that because it's a different discussion for a different day. But like going based off what you were saying with the mask, Mikey, that's my take on it. Just
I mean, I feel like there's something we could really, as a group, sink our teeth into the traits and the differences, like as characters between Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Deadpool. Because just real quick before we continue, Wolverine's identity, we know him as Logan, we know him as James Howlett, we know him as the Wolverine, we know him by so many different names. We know what he is, but who he is always remains a question to him. We move to Peter Parker, where his superhero alias and his secret identity are two separate people, and there is chaos when those lives clash. We know Spider-Man is the web-slinging, cool cat, New York saving hero, but Peter Parker is just a kid.
right.
And then we have Wade Wilson, who is Deadpool, and we see that Deadpool is not Wade Wilson and Wade Wilson is not Deadpool. There is no difference between them. They are the same person.
Yeah.
There is no conflict of identity there. That is just simply who they are unapologetically.
And just to get to wrap up the Deadpool and Wolverine discussion because we got Comic-Con to discuss. The movie was so full of heart, and the fact, the whole story was pretty much Wade wanting to save his family, and that's the people from the other two movies. And that watch the relationship between Wolverine and Deadpool form and show that they're become great friends, and there's so much heart behind the humor and the gore and the shock value of the movie, and at the end of it, them saving it, of course, and it was just a beautiful ending to the movie in my personal opinion. I'm glad that this movie exists. Like, it's a weird way to say that, but it's just like, as a kid who grew up watching Marvel, who's been nothing but superheroes my whole life, this movie is definitely top 5 at the least in my personal opinion. And I'm sure here soon we'll do a video ranking our MCU movies or ranking our superhero movies off the rip or whatever, but this has to be top 5 for me. just in nostalgic story, the action, the music, the cast, it was just everything about it was solid, man. There's like with all of us, we have the little things that we have to discuss, but it's just like overall, this movie's at least a 9 out of 10.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
It's just to be fair, 9 out of 10. It gives that space for the small things that are hard to discuss, and like with the Vanessa situation, we're not gonna go too deep into that because it can be a longer discussion, but ultimately at the end of it, they're back together, and that's what matters. And
As far as we know,
as far as
or
we
as far
know,
as we think,
yeah, and
more so,
but
we can discuss that on other podcasts too.
yeah, and like I said, just the fact that this movie touched on all those things, the sadness, speaking of sadness, the background of Wolverine, and the humor, of course, Deadpool. Then like the music was fantastic, just the little nods of like The Greatest Showman and all that jazz, and
It had music from The Greatest Showman in it, apparently.
yeah, it was like for a split second when he hit him on the radio, it like played The Greatest
I was
Showman.
about to say in the van fight scene.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
but just this like we all agree, 9 out of 10 movie. If you get the chance, please go watch it. Like insane. It's
Do yourself a favor.
Yeah, do yourself a favor and watch it.
Yourself.
It'll tickle your pickle.
Don't take your damn kids. Don't be that dumbass that takes your kids to
No,
watch
take
it.
your kids. Fuck it.
If you don't
Take
want,
your.
if you don't want
Listen.
your kids to hear jokes about cocaine and anal, then don't take them to the fucking movie.
Listen. Take them to the movie. Take them to a movie. Show them what the real is all about with Deadpool and Wolverine, and let them see what a real hero is like.
And
I think we have different definitions of real hero, but we've had our appetizers. We've definitely started in on our meal. What's this dessert of Comic-Con looking like?
okay, so we're gonna get the big bar out of the way first of all, just because this is the main topic that we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
Do we want to get that out of the way? Do we want to save that for the end?
No, let's get it out of the way right now.
Okay.
So Marvel announced the lineup, well, the next 2 Avengers movies, because the whole situation with Kang and Jonathan Majors, they are pretty much saying bye Kang, which I'm sure he might show up in the movies, and it might be a different actor, but instead of being Kang Dynasty like it was originally, Avengers 5 will officially be Doomsday. And they have casted Robert Downey Jr. to play Victor Von Doom.
RGJ back as a villain.
The King is back as a villain this time. And
Do you want me to go ahead and give my
yeah,
theory on this?
yeah, go ahead, bro.
Okay, so I was slightly thinking about this because originally I messaged you, I can't remember how long ago it was, it wasn't that long ago, but discussing the idea, because we have heard rumors of it being Tony Stark
Yeah.
as just an evil Tony Stark as Doctor Doom, right? And I said, well, what variant of Victor that we're seeing? So I want to try to piece the two together. Tell me how it sounds. I'll get anyone's feedback from this. So what if there's a pun right there? We get before we get to Doomsday. What if we get a what if episode telling us that originally, yeah, this was a Tony Stark that didn't end up having a cave moment. He never ended up in a cave. He never became the Iron Man that we know. Instead, he became this bad guy and just ended up eventually renaming himself into Victor, and eventually pops up in where we're at with the live action version, but it all starts with a if explaining how he went from Tony Stark to Victor Von Doom.
Yeah.
What do y'all think?
So I mean, RDJ's already been announced as Doom. I think that's well and good in terms of tying who, what, when, where, why, and how. Right? It's like, well, how does Tony Stark become Victor Von Doom? Well, as you said, Ridge, I can see it being an iteration of Tony where he didn't have his cave moment, where he didn't become Iron Man, but instead became something of a warmonger, an arms dealer, like he was actually doing. Instead of having a horrible misfire, everything went according to plan, and Stark Industries boomed. But as we know, Tony's father did not want that for Stark Industries. But money, power, fame. We know a lot of these things have nearly corrupted Tony in the past, but what if they did completely?
Snap.
And in order to cast off the Stark name and maybe the moral thoughts of his father creeping in, like, Tony, I don't want this for you, Tony casts off his entire name as Stark and instead becomes Victor Von Doom.
Hold on, I got to bring this up to y'all because this is mad. So there was a comic book. Speaking of Rich, how you said a what if episode, right? So apparently there was a what if comic book in 2010 called "What If Demon in an Armor." And the history of it says during college, Victor Von Doom tricks Tony into an experiment where his mind is transferred to Tony's body while Tony's mind is transferred to Doom's body. And with his memory erased, blamed for carrying out prohibited research, Tony was kicked out of college and forced to live a life of hardship as a Latvarian commoner. After a first period of discouragement, Tony would worked hard, reaching the achievement of more than 1 degree in the following success field of industry and innovations in the country of Latvia. That makes sense.
So now we have a setup what if episode to come out to explain this to us.
Yeah,
I've actually seen that comic before. When you spoke on that, I was like, wait a minute, I've heard this before. And then, but yeah, I think that would be a really cool way to introduce Robert Downey Jr. as Victor Von Doom. But I feel like they're going to go. I feel like they're going to go with the infamous Iron Man way of doing it.
Yeah, I could see that too, but that is still just Victor, in which, they did say it's going to be Victor, but that's like, that happened after Civil War II. Like, that's where I'm like, I don't know about it, because Civil War II is what made it.
I do feel like, I mean, with Latveria as a country, Victor Von Doom's home country, all that, I am worried that were we to introduce Victor organically, there might be retconning that needs to be done, or if there is no retcon, there would be a lot of exposition to cover. And I'm not saying this is the easy way out. I'm saying within this train of thought, I feel like the more natural progression might be to go with this what if scenario of Tony where he's trapped in Victor's body and winds up making a life for himself that way, because we already have the TVA, we already have variants, we already have split timelines. It already lines up pretty well.
But
And he himself, at Comic-Con said that he enjoyed playing complicated characters, and
yeah,
what is more complicated than one of those situations being, the storyline for that Victor Von Doom. That's that, you could go either route, and it would still probably end up being a great movie just because it's Robert Downey Jr. But with him stating that he enjoyed playing the complicated characters, to me it screamed. It just screams. that,
Listen,
with how to express this. They with them selecting Robert Downey Jr. They are very aware of what the fans want. But I feel like they know that they can't bring him back as Iron Man without desecrating the ending of Iron Man. And so, what better way to bring him back than as Victor Von Doom, and with this type of complex storytelling?
Yeah.
listen. Top off on what you were saying earlier. A small snippet that I want to take of what you were saying about it's going to be a great. I think it would be a great movie even without Robert Downey Jr. in there because
yeah,
the Russo brothers are back.
Oh yeah.
What movie have they been a part of with the MCU that hasn't been?
I mean, think about it. I mean, to some people, the movies that they did are the greatest MCU movies. I mean, think about it: Infinity War and Endgame and Winter Soldier, like
Civil War.
Civil War. Yeah, I mean, just dude, like the fact that we
They've
got the
been
Russo
connected to a
brothers,
lot of these great
and
movies of the MCU.
the fact that we got the Russo brothers back is just a big W in my opinion, and that makes me more excited for the Avengers movies down the line because the people who did it before did it again, and it just excites me even more.
And the people that have been clamoring to do Secret Wars, these guys have talked about if we was to come back, it would be able to do Secret Wars.
Yeah.
It is
Definitely
without a
going to
doubt
do
in
it
my
just.
mind absolutely worth being excited for that the Russo brothers are back. I do feel like, for a time we were just rolling the proverbial mystery box, seeing what we got, and forgive the reference, but I believe with the Russo brothers boys, we've pulled the ray gun.
I think that the reason why we make a bold statement, I'm sure I'll get agreement from the group. It's because of Bob Chapek.
Who?
Bob Chapek, the old CEO, there for like the smallest time for Disney,
Oh
he
yeah,
pushed for so much
you're cutting out.
everywhere.
Say it again.
Bob Chapek pushed for content out of every piece
Yeah.
of not only Marvel but Star Wars. That's a whole nother subject in a
Yeah.
podcast. But Bob Chapek, I do believe Marvel went on downward spiral.
Yeah. I mean, after Endgame, there's only been a couple good movies. I mean, I think they're all pretty decent in their own right, but there's not been besides No Way Home, there's not been I mean, I personally think Shang-Chi was amazing, but besides No Way Home, there's not been a like major box office success.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, I liked Shang-Chi too. I did wind up watching it. But I do agree that, I mean, not counting No Way Home after Endgame, it doesn't feel like that there was a blockbuster. There wasn't a movie that to me felt like was just a resounding victory from that franchise as a whole, and not just Marvel, just, everything that Disney basically has a paw in.
Yeah, I think that you know, between these, between Endgame and where we're at now, a lot of MCU movies have been quite lackluster in different ways. Whether it be just not pandering to the fans in the proper way, and that's one of the biggest things that a lot of these big movie producers don't realize sometimes is that you really do need to listen to your fans. Yes, you don't listen to all of your fans' inquiries, but when you look at the mass majority of people who actually know the comic books, who are fervent, who are fervent readers and like super fans of the cinematic universe, listening to them is a big part of the success of a movie.
Hmm.
And I think like I said, for me, one of the most lackluster ones that has come out that was saved by a single character was Thor: Love and Thunder, and I think that Christian Bale playing Gore saved that movie.
Yeah.
I think the movie was great. I don't think
I
it's the
think it was.
best one, but I think it's great. I think it's
I think it
better.
was too childish.
It's
You
better than
know,
it's better than the first two. But the thing,
I,
but I do agree that there was. I wouldn't say too childish. I think they tried to make it too funny.
well, I agree. There were moments that were serious in it, but in my opinion, Christian Bale's character really did carry that movie
Yeah,
in a lot of
but
ways.
that's because he
Without, in
carried the
my opinion,
seriousness.
yeah, he is what pushed that story along the proper way, and I felt like they were just trying to be too goofy when it comes to, you know,
The goats
the rest
and
of the people involved. And like I said, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm just saying it was lackluster to me because there was too much comedy involved when really and honestly they should have been taking time to be a little more serious about what's going on in certain scenes. Even though it's does have some childishly funny moments in it, the scene with Zeus and or not Zeus.
no, you're right. It's
Yeah,
Zeus.
it was Zeus. The scene, that whole scene there was fine. But I feel like some of the conversations that were had by Thor or by, some of the other minor characters was not very compelling because it was them trying to be too funny or it was just too much. It was too over the top. Meanwhile, also I'm very biased when I say this because I love the Thor movies, but my favorite Thor movie forever and always will be Ragnarok.
Oh, that's easy for me.
That's the easiest
But
choice. That's the easiest choice there
but
is.
that could be a discussion for a different video, and like just talking about. I guess we can say like the downfall of. Well, not. I wouldn't even say the total downfall, but it's just like the decline.
Downsides.
Yeah, the decline. And that, honestly, bringing that up makes sense for Deadpool and Wolverine because he even says that Marvel's been on a downslope and that he's bringing it back. That's why. And this is I got to bring this up because it pisses me off. There's people all over TikTok and YouTube, and Twitter, whatever, that are saying that Deadpool was blasphemous. And I can see where they get confused because he calls himself Marvel Jesus a couple times through the movie. But if people just heard that and automatically was like blasphemous and left the movie theater, then they didn't pay attention the whole time. Paradox literally tells him that he's got a higher calling and like he wants to be the savior of his universe or the savior of many universes or whatever, and that's why he called himself Marvel Jesus because they were asking him to save the universe.
Yeah, it's not like he was disparaging or like trying to, he was like, this is what I am like, this he's liking himself to this version because they're telling him, hey, you are special, like you're not like everyone else down there, like regardless if you're the anchor or not, even though you're not and you think you are, it's funny, but he was just what he was doing was he was describing he
It
was
was it
being
was a
extra.
joke. It was
Yeah, it was a joke. It was to explain that he's basically he is the savior of his universe, and
and
so
and and to mark
yeah,
this out, we're all for Christians, and if we truly
yes,
thought it was blasphemous, we would mention that.
we would absolutely be against even watching the movie if that's what we felt like this was the direction they were taking, and he was not taking that direction with it. Um, we all know, Ryan Reynolds gets along with almost every single person, and he's not going to just. He doesn't seem the kind of person to just attack specific group of people based on what they believe or anything. Like, he's a very open guy, and
Mikey Ridge? What's your thoughts on that?
So, um, my thoughts, right, are I want to point out that during the movie, even though Deadpool does say he's like, oh, I'm like the Jesus of Marvel, there is never at any point in the movie that I noticed while watching it in which he takes a specific pot shot at any established religion. Beyond that, Deadpool is a fictional character. Wade Wilson is a fictional character. He is an exceptionally ridiculous fictional character, and I don't feel like you can approach his character without something of an open mind, understanding what the character is, what his motivations are, and why he does what he does. And you can't approach it without a sense of humor. The movie is not a drama. It is not a historical drama. It's not a documentary. I don't think it's meant to be taken as seriously as a lot of people will take it. It is a funny, raunchy, gory superhero movie.
Ridge,
That's pretty much my whole take.
My thought is, how the fuck did we end up in the session from San Diego Comic-Con?
I don't know. It just crossed. My
I
remembered.
don't know if I zoned out or what, but I
meant to bring it up.
We followed the breadcrumbs here, dog.
Yeah, good. I zoned out, but I don't have that many talking points for Deadpool and Wolverine right now. I think, we've already covered a good portion of it, and if I think of anything later on in another podcast, let me see it enough. I'll go from there with it.
All right.
Yeah, I feel the same.
So after they announced Doom, well, honestly, before they announced Doom, they also announced Secret Wars in 27. And of course, we know that is when two universes collide in a war that causes an incursion, pretty much. Well, it is an incursion. And honestly, we've got hints of that from Multiverse of Madness when I think it's Clea or whatever, Charlize Theron's character in the after credit scene of Multiverse of Madness came to Doctor Strange and said, "Hey, we need to stop an incursion," or "I need your help to stop an incursion." So we knew that we was getting that, and we'd known for a few years that we was getting Secret Wars, which we just pretty much got the announcement that the Russo brothers were directing it. So that's not much to touch up on that yet because that's all we know for now.
Any speculations on the color? Do we think that there's anything behind the color scheme for Secret Wars? Because if you think about like Infinity, Thanos. Do you think it's because of Iron Man?
I think Iron Man will show up in it, of course.
But to me, I think there's a color scheme is the way it is, right? Because Doomsday was green, obviously, because Doctor Doom. What's with the red and yellow like that?
Yeah. Maybe they could bring Warlock into it too. That could be a thing. We already got Warlock.
Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Wolverine, supposedly to be taking part in the movie. That could also indicate that could be an indication of maybe something. Maybe they said that the Deadpool movie sets up Secret Wars perfectly, and so maybe because of the leniency of the TVA and everything, maybe they come through and they're like, hey, because we did you this favor, even though you saved our universe, we really need you to help us stop this incursion or take place in it and make sure that this universe doesn't win.
And who do y'all? And it was announced not too long ago that the casting of Miles Morales was officially opened. And so I just want to get who y'all think should play Miles Morales, because clearly we're probably going to get Spider-Man versus Miles Morales, and I feel like we're going to get multiple versions of Peter. I feel like we might get all three of the versions, but there could be. I'll bring this up in another time. But who do you think? Who do you think should play Miles?
I'm going to go with an easy answer here just because, Jordan, you and I both love the PlayStation Sony Spider-Man games. I really love Najee Jeter as Miles. I know he only does the voice, but still, I adore it.
I'm cool with that. There's also this one kid. He's from Cobra Kai. His name is Kenny in the show, but his real name is Dallas Dupree Young. I think he fits, especially seeing him in season 6 of Cobra Kai. I think he'd be a great Miles, and especially if they want to go with the high school age, because he just reached that point where it's like he looks old enough to be in high school, but he's also freaking jacked. But I'm with Mikey. I think Najee Jeter, voice-wise, look-wise, would be cool.
Sorry, I don't have that many answers right now. I'm sitting here looking at different actors, to be honest. I know one name that's got Jaden Smith.
I think I'd be cool with that, too, honestly. I mean, I think Jaden Smith would be sick. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, I've seen a guy on TikTok that goes around, in the street performing as Miles Morales, and he's got the look down pat.
Bro, if you're talking
His
about the
voice is pretty
NPC
good
guy,
too.
if you're talking about the
Yeah.
NPC guy, hell no. Have you
No, not the NPC. No, not the NPC guy. No.
that guy? No disrespect to him, but if you watch his videos, the man literally goes nuts if he doesn't get his votes. So I mean, scratch that off the side, but no.
I mean, I will give him credit for being smart enough to take something completely ignorant and just make tons of money doing it. It's impressive that. Yeah, well, I would say it's impressive if it wasn't kind of sad, because that kind of shows the state of society in some ways. That's entertainment. But that could also be spawning from video games. Most people play video games nowadays, so maybe a lot of people are like, "Ooh, NPCs," and it's weird. He's not the one I was talking about. There was another guy I saw. He walks the streets and everything. I forget. I think he's out there in Hollywood a lot. Where a lot of the people who go and dress up.
You'll have to pull him up eventually, but let's get back to Comic-Con. There's just only 2 more things I think that they mentioned. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Ridge.
3.
3. Okay, well, one of them.
I think if we didn't, we haven't discussed any of the movies yet.
Well, that's what I'm getting to. So,
yeah, 3 movies.
Okay, so they did show footage for Thunderbolts, apparently. I didn't really read into it too much, but it did show a few scenes, Yelena showing up at Red Guardian's house, and I think Ghost gets a new costume, and I think pretty much the premise of the movie is each individual character will be set on a different mission. Well, they'll be set on the same mission, and they eventually team up, but they're pretty much being set up, and I guess that's the point of the movie.
So I know that Red Guardian gets a new costume by the way it looks at Comic-Con. I seen a photo of it, or seen the video.
Yeah, it's definitely a new costume.
And he was the only one in costume, and he acts upset because he says they're supposed to be in costume. Let's see, what else can I tell you from that one? I hear that Yelena Belova's character, they had probably butchered it. Apparently, she's going to be the main focal point to the movie.
I mean, I see it. Of course, I mean she's good enough to be the main focal point of the movie, in my opinion.
So let's see, what else was?
And we can break up the people of the team, and of course we got Yelena Belova, we got Red Guardian, Winter Soldier, Ghost, who was the villain in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Taskmaster, and I believe the last person was U.S. Agent. Or the guy who they tried to make Captain America, but horrifically failed.
So this is the Walmart version, right? Cap. Yes, Thunderbolts.
Yeah, Thunderbolts. Yeah.
Has anything been made mention of Songbird then?
Not yet. No.
No Songbird.
Oh well.
No Songbird. I
hope an announcement or something like that gets made, because, I mean, in the comics run and the comic universe as a whole, Songbird's the de facto leader of the Thunderbolts.
And there's no Red Hulk in here. As far as we know, there's
Yeah,
no
as far as we know.
Thunderbolt.
Oh yeah, World Ender Hulk.
I mean, well, think about it. We are getting Red Hulk in Captain America: Brave New World, so he could show up. But
Speaking of which, that was the first thing they led was Brave New World.
okay,
So they showed new footage from it, and from what I've gathered, they confirmed adamantium is their main focal point. Thunderbolt Ross, President Ross, same difference, but turns into Red Hulk behind the podium.
oh shit.
So there's a chance that he does this in front of TV people, in front of a lot of people, turns into Red Hulk.
And I'm sure he's gonna get like impeached or something.
There's no telling, and I know he says, from what I heard about the footage, now the whole I didn't watch all of SDCC, a live stream of reactions coming from the John Campea show, and he was telling, and as soon as I heard something break, or some of it, like Doomsday, I told you, Slater. But I also heard that one of the things that was said is from discussing films on Twitter, or X, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that in the trailer, I can't remember what it is that President Ross tells him that we've seen it, but in the footage that they showed
what?
It was in San Diego Comic-Con at SDCC, the footage that President Ross says that he wants to bring back the Avengers. So I don't think we will see but I think by the end of it,
What'd you say at the end of that? You cut out.
Where did I get to?
You said
It was. I don't think we'll see the.
I don't think we will see the Avengers in the movie. Like, I don't think we'll see them. I think we'll see the Hulk in this movie. It'd be dumb not to have Hulk in there.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
But I think we'll see by the end of it, I think we might see the startup of building up the Avengers, or at least him talking about it.
Well, think about what I was telling Mikey. I told you about this, and Ridge, I was texting you about. They said that there's a possibility of Latveria being mentioned in Brave New World, of course, to set up Doomsday, which come out the year after. And of course, they're going to have to do something with Doom. Doom's going to have some kind of mention in this movie. At least Latveria, like I said.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it would make sense for the Thunderbolts to get established because they were essentially a subsidiary of the Masters of Evil, which Doom was pretty much at the helm of.
I just think they're missing the chance. Like, if they don't do it, I'm not saying they're not going to, but I think that they missed the chance of being able to turn Sokovia into Latveria. I think that would have been cool. I'm not going to lie. Like, using the rubble of Latveria, and Latverians hate Americans. And of course, they could use that against the Avengers, because the people who survived Sokovia, or the people who knew people of Sokovia, hated the Avengers. And of course, sets that aside. So, I mean, I'm not saying that they should have done that, but I'm saying I think it would have been cool.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. and the last thing that we should talk about when it comes to Comic-Con is they showed early footage. Oh, it's not even early footage. It was like a teaser trailer to Fantastic Four: First Steps. It's the first Fantastic Four movie in the MCU. Of course, Pedro Pascal playing
Reed Richards.
Yeah, Mr. Fantastic. Of course, we got Joseph Quinn playing Johnny Storm. I'm looking up the cast right now so I don't get the other people's names wrong. So give me a second. Okay, so we got Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Eben Moss Bachrach as Ben Grimm, the Thing, and in the footage, it does show the silhouette of the Thing a couple times. And
it shows him on a dating show.
like a dating show. Like I can't remember the name of it, but it was like, remember the ones where they would be like Bachelor number 1, Bachelor number 2, and Bachelor number 3, and at the end of the show they have to pick who they want to go on a second date with.
The Bachelor before the Bachelor.
Yeah. So like I said,
yeah, the old blind date game shows.
So like I said, we got Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, and Ebon Moss-Bachrach as Ben Grimm / the Thing. And of course, we've got Julia Gardner as Shala Ball, the female version of Silver Surfer, and we got Ralph Ineson as Galactus. And in the footage, the very last scene, you see a gigantic dude looking into a window of a building. So,
gigantic dude as in Galactus.
Yes.
We'll get a giant Galactus.
So at least they're keeping his fucking size right. I mean, he might shrink a little bit to come down to Earth, but we all know this dude eats planets. But
he a little hungry.
So the way the suit looked on Galactus, from what I could tell, is a very quick look, but it looks more so like I can't remember what video game it was from Marvel, but it wasn't the purple suit, is what I'm getting at. It was more so of a grayish look from the video games. I want to say, what was it, Capcom versus Marvel?
Marvel vs. Capcom?
Yeah. Maybe?
I think he had a purple that.
There was one where he didn't have a purple suit. At least to me, it didn't look purple. Right. So we're not getting purple suit, but we are.
It kind of reminds me from the one or two snippets that I can see here, just of that snapshot from the trailer in which we see him. It almost reminds me of the Ultimate Alliance Galactus appearance.
Ah, yeah.
That might be one I'm thinking of.
Because he is a boss you face during the Skrull portion of the story while trying to escape the Skrull planet.
And honestly,
I only remember this because Thor was one of my strongest characters, and I was young and dumb and stupid, and Thor got squashed by Galactus's boot.
And think about this. Honestly, hear me out. So, what if the Fantastic Four lose at the end of this movie?
Well, yeah, that's been thrown around already.
I mean, it would make sense that why Galactus is the main villain of the movie, and because Galactus is the villain, besides like the Living Tribunal and the Wanderer and Annihilus and stuff like that. Galactus is that dude, and people are worried that having Galactus so early is, why are they having him? It's kind of like, why are we having him in a singular movie and not like a team-up movie?
I think we'll eventually see him again. I think this was just our first time.
Probably for like World Ender Hulk, for the end of what we know as the Marvel Cinematic Universe for this specific timeline.
Well,
we'll get into that later.
Well, the thing is like this Fantastic Four movie is set in a different universe.
Right, that's the main thing with it.
Yeah. So
they gotta have a reason to come over too.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think they're gonna get away, or something like that, or Galactus is gonna, or Silver Surfer will send them to our timeline, and that's where.
No, Silver Surfer ain't gonna have no Sentinel.
Well, somehow they're going.
You want to hear my theory?
What's that?
It's going to be maybe Galactus might have something to do with it, but it's going to be because of their kid, Franklin.
Oh, yeah.
that they get over to the 616 universe.
That could make sense.
Maybe him and Galactus both combine their powers, because you gotta think of how OP Franklin Richards is.
Yo, oh hell.
What?
In the comic books, there is I believe, quote me if I'm wrong, but in one of the comic books, Kang the Conqueror is Reed Richards' son.
Yeah.
So
That's a run.
So what if that's the reason why they get in 616?
Because of him being Kang the Conqueror?
One of the variants of like the son, because like I said, one of the variants pulls them through or something like that. Just something that, like, I don't know exactly. Like, you got to give me time to think about that, but something to do with Kang is what brings them to.
We'll come back around to this.
I was just going to make note that, a lot of people ask the same question around the first Doctor Strange movie, because Dormammu is like a world-ending threat. And we see him once, and he's referenced many other times, but we see him once. But another thing is, Dormammu's also a reoccurring threat for Doctor Strange. Galactus is also kind of a reoccurring threat for the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Not just for the Fantastic.
Well, I mean, like, if we're slotting villains to teams, Fantastic Four are some of the first to deal with him.
Yeah.
Right. But that's just the first to deal with. Because, I mean, same with Doctor Doom. Doctor is infamously known with the Fantastic Four.
Yep.
But goes on to face multiple other characters and in the movies as we Avengers Doomsday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's numerous Marvel villains that are world-level threats, and there's been so many different iterations of Doctor Doom in comics that have just dog-walked every hero faction.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
guys.
So we've covered all the all the stuff we plan to talk about today.
So, just two more things real quick.
Yeah.
Originally, whenever Feige got up there to do the panel for Marvel, he said that he was right.
Mo, say it again.
Yeah.
He was only going to talk about the 3 movies.
Yeah.
So, if he would have stuck to his word, which, you kind of figured he wouldn't because we're used to it, would y'all have been happy with only getting movies?
Say 3. Happy with getting 3 movies?
With just the 3 movies that were talked about, that we already knew about coming.
I mean,
would we have been happy with that, or would we have gotten?
I wouldn't have been happy. I mean, the only reason why is because, yes, they showed the footage for Fantastic Four and the Thunderbolts, but we didn't get to see that. Like, they didn't openly broadcast that or release it online. And if the San Diego Comic-Con wouldn't have addressed the missing Avengers title for Avengers 5, or who was directing those 2 Avengers movies, though one of them's coming out in 2 years, like, that would have been crazy not to know who the director was. And I'm glad they clarified that, it's no longer Kang Dynasty, it's Doomsday, and that they revealed the Von Doom of the movie. So, no, I wouldn't have been happy with just the 3 movies, honestly.
I think I agree with Jordan here, because there was a lot up in the air, especially with the issues that had come out concerning the Kang Dynasty. I did feel like there was a limbo of, I see the game plan, but where do we go from here? What's next? We've got this, but where's the finale? Where's the crescendo? So I agree with Jordan here. I think I would have been disappointed if we didn't get as much information as we did, and I'm grateful that we did because it did clear a lot of the air that I was worried about in the future.
Caleb?
I think a lot of fans will be happy just to get a movie in general with the MCU, because there's always potential with the MCU. I mean, would I have personally been happy? I probably would. I probably wouldn't have. I would have probably been in the middle somewhere. I probably would have been pretty. I would have probably been more skeptical of how well these movies would do, and and just basing it on if we didn't get the information we did. I probably would have been thinking, I'm not sure if I am going to even watch the movies, because there's not enough information here to keep me to keep my attention span solely focused on it. But with all the reveals, I'd have to say that I'm more comfortable seeing the possibilities that have been opened up now that they've chosen, who they want to play Victor Von Doom. And as I said, I still think I'm not sure how I feel about Pedro Pascal playing Reed Richards. But I also didn't know how Chris Pratt was going to end up doing in the Mario Brothers movie, and I was worried and worried and worried. We went to watch that movie. I walked out with a completely different attitude towards it. So I think there's always, like I said, there's always a little bit of hope that the movie will be good anytime an MCU movie is announced. But with this extra information being that the Russo brothers are now involved again, and that Robert Downey Jr. is playing Victor Von Doom, and that all these crazy things that are happening, and now it's changed to Doomsday. I feel like they were able to clarify the direction they were going in for the movies very, very well, and I think you could tell, but just the cheers alone from Robert Downey Jr., that the fans' minds were put at ease during that during that Comic-Con event.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm opposite to y'all a little bit here. I would have been happy with just the 3 movies. I mean, to be in all fairness, for the longest time, yes, we have just about for the Phase 6 or Phase 7.
Say that again. You were what?
We've been used to getting a whole slate for every phase, right?
Yeah, I got you on that, yeah.
But not always has it been able to fruition that we was going to get those movies whenever they said.
Yeah.
So just to have 3 movies that are set in stone that we know we're getting,
yeah,
to me that's a good thing. Just to say, these are set in stone. We know we can work with these. That to me, that's a good thing. Also, and we'll talk about this probably in the next podcast, guys, D23 is just 2 weekends away now. Maybe 1. About 1 or 2 weekends away. And guess what? Marvel's there too.
Yeah.
So they could have held everything, the whole slate off, and it revealed the slate at D23 because it's Disney's big panel and big show of everything that they have to come. So I would have been happy with just the 3. Don't get me wrong, I was happy that we did the Avengers announcements, and I was completely thrilled that we got that. But if we would have only had just 3, completely would have been fine.
Yeah, I can understand that more now.
Yeah, I follow. I think from a business perspective, maybe doing some of the announcements they did now instead of waiting until D23 might have been wise, because, I mean, in the industry like that, just about any publicity is publicity, because if people are talking about it, people are talking about it. So at D23, they may not have much more room to fudge, but there's definitely going to be people there asking questions, wanting coverage, something, and that gets names out even further than they were.
Yeah.
I feel like I do agree with you, Ridge. As I said, for me, it just, getting the 3 movies set in stone, yes, that is always a good thing. That's, what I was mentioning is anytime they, announce a Marvel movie that is for sure in stone going to happen, I feel like, that's a good thing and that everybody is happy that they're getting one. It's just a question of, is the movie going to end up being a stinker like a few of them have been, recently? Or are they really going to go all out? And I think by announcing that the Russos were the ones in charge of the movies, they really, really did put a lot of people's, worries at rest by explaining that was going to happen, that this was the reality of the situation based on what happened with Kang. And, what happened with Kang the Conqueror and everything, sure, it's a horrible situation. It sucks that we're not going to be able to get the full potential of that movie. But who's to say that this isn't going to work out for the better for Marvel by doing this? Because honestly, announcing Victor Von Doom being played by, Robert is just, icing on the cake to what they're going to be, feeding us. I believe that's just a little tidbit of, hey, just get ready. This is, you think this is big. Maybe there's something more to what's going to be in these movies.
Yep. Well,
All right.
we covered everything for this episode. We would like to thank you for joining us on our first episode of this podcast. Like I said,
Thank you for lending us your ears.
Like I said, we are far side of the pod, and this is the first episode of many. Would you guys like to say anything?
Rich, you go ahead.
Well, great way to be put on the spot, especially since I've been cutting in and out. So guys, this was done right here on a Sunday. I don't know if it's going to be released tonight or not. That'd be Slater. Don't know.
I'm going to try to do it tonight.
Okay. So this might be that we see on Sundays going henceforward on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
Doing this, trying to release it. If not, I imagine Saturday nights potential. More than likely, though, we'll be sticking to Sunday nights because just of how our lives go. Sorry if it seemed long. It's going to be that way, though. Whenever you got great for this, doing a podcast that we've been dreaming of for so long, it's going to be a long conversations that we have. And the fact that we managed is absolutely fascinating because my imagination was start off with Marvel and somehow make it to talking about whenever we're 5 years old.
Yeah.
And that could always happen at any given point with us.
Just to back off what you're saying, just because you cut it out, you're just saying we're just dudes who like to talk, and that's why we want to do this podcast, is because the things we've been talking about for years, it should be recorded, and we could have done this years ago and probably boosted off by now, but the fact that we're doing it now and that we have plenty of things to talk about nowadays, we're just happy to be around to do that, and we can't wait to make more content for you guys and to share our thoughts. And of course, there's probably going to be some people that freaking hate our guts after this, but honestly, we don't care.
Fuck it.
Like we say at the beginning, if you don't like it, don't watch. All right?
Yeah.
But if you do like it, go hit that subscribe button for us and hit the like.
Like it, subscribe, hit the bell, do whatever the hell you got to do. And
feel free to leave comments. Anything you got suggestions on any topics you'd like us to discuss would be fantastic too.
Yeah, we could definitely discuss them as a group, and I think we could all come to decent conclusions. Maybe even cover one or two topics in a single episode, as you've seen us do here today. we fall down rabbit holes and everything else. But I'm just glad that we basically get to be a bunch of guys who are dudes who are bros, and we just get to talk. That's that's my thing. I love that.
And you're gonna have to
I'm
get
gonna
over
be.
the scuffed ass, like Ridge on his PlayStation, Mikey on his phone, and you're gonna have to get over that for a while until we get some money or something. Because if y'all ain't paying us, you just going with the scuff. So y'all can just
Guys, all right. First off, no pay us. Straightforward, okay.
Yeah, don't.
Let's get that conveyed.
Yeah.
Second off, if we get any type of pay, it's because we're taking on a sponsor. We'll be completely open to doing so if anybody is looking to sponsor this whack-ass podcast, okay?
And
Look, if you
hopefully,
try to pay me, I'm gonna donate that shit. You heard? You
yeah.
won't
The
pay
last-
me. It's going to a charity.
The last thing I got, and then I'm done, guys, is I'm gonna be brutally honest. While they might check the comments, I'm not going to. Just because I am one of those that would prefer to sit there and argue with y'all. Not really. Just kidding. But I'm not going to sit there and read the comments. I'm not even going to this thing once it hits. Alright? It's just going to be out there. It's going to be out there, but I will never go back to the comments to listen to this again. I might listen to it 50 years from now, but for now, I'm just having fun.
And that's a good reason, because this podcast is our thoughts. We don't take no thoughts from people from Twitter or Facebook or whatever you read on. This is strictly our thoughts. And that's what this podcast is going to be. Strictly our thoughts. And
You heard it here first, folks. Here on Far Side of the Pod, as our illustrious, ever glorious Ridge just said, we look ahead. There's nothing wrong with that. And we'll take criticisms as they come, but don't expect us to take them too seriously. We won't.
And this is just something we're having fun with, and it's great to be able to sit down with like-minded folk, and even being like-minded folk, we're still going to disagree a few times for a few things, but that's the beautiful thing about individuality and being able to express yourself to others, and that's and doing podcasts for us is like a way for us to share our viewpoint on things to the world, and maybe find some other like-minded folks out there who fanboy over the same types of things, who can connect with us, and we can bring a smile to their bad day by listening to us, and I will definitely be checking the comments, because I always like to look over and see what people have to say, how people feel, if there's something they'd like us to discuss. I'm more than happy to sit down and discuss it, sports related, video games, anything Marvel, DC, just we're country nerd boys, and we just enjoy having a good time, and we hope that especially if you've stayed this long to listen to to this first episode of the podcast, we're really appreciative of the time that and of the time that we're able to have together with you guys. So like they've all said, just subscribe, hit the bell icon, whatever you got to do, leave a comment, leave a like. Let us know what else you'd like for us to, discuss, and we're completely up for that.
And hopefully in the future, we're, better setups, better recording stuff. Hell, even going to conventions, interviewing people, meeting people. Hopefully this brings us to a different level, but if it doesn't, it just still gives us a chance just to talk and to share our opinions out with the world. And we're carefree. So that's what the best thing about this pod. It's unedited, it's unfiltered, and it's carefree. And that's pretty much our first episode, man. I just want to thank everybody for showing up for it. And I want to thank everybody, if like Caleb said, if you made it this far, thank you so much. And hopefully there's more greatness to come with us.
Thank you.
Doses.
All right. Goodbye, y'all. Good night.
Or Wiedersehen.